am, I'm doing okay today. I have to check. I have to see any kids in the background for today. No, mommy has the hour off. I told him I had a very, very important lunch date with my friend.
Oh my goodness.
Which is you.
Oh, well, thanks for that. You know what? If they want to join, that's okay too. It's all about, the more the merrier. It's so good to see you.
You too. You too.
I know. Well, first of all, before we even get started, I just want to thank you and your team. Melanie has been amazing through this process. So she teed us up. So thank you. And thank you for joining. I'm so excited to have this discussion with you because, you are a trailblazer and your accomplishments. And I saw you on the panel on #sports. And I was like, you go, girl. So with that said, team that up, why don't we kick it off, Rachel? Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you for that warm introduction. And, I feel the same way about the team, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Nothing like changing things up and joining a new company during a global pandemic. But I am Rachel Jacobson. I'm so thrilled to be back in touch with one of my old friends from the NBA and to be joining you today. I started my career at the NBA, and who thinks they stay at their first job 21 years, but somehow I did, and just circuitously worked within the NBA's organization, everything from partnership management to marketing to business development and social responsibility. So, David Stern used to always say to me, kind of as I was growing up in my career, because I was in his management training program that he started, it's like, it's those who raise your hand, that not only get noticed, but you really build those muscles around areas when you think about your career development. And I was just always raising my hand and stepping into traffic and learning new things. And I guess one thing led to another, and I woke up and I had been there 21 years.
Oh my goodness. But it was an amazing journey for you though, right? Because you started off in the management trainee program, and that was a program where you rotated within groups, and you ended up on the partnership side. And how did you land in that group, Rachel?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I had started in this management training program, and I tell people it was a little bit like sorority or fraternity rush. You spent 3.5 months in 4 different departments, and then at the end of the first year, it was like, who needs this person, and what does this person really want to do now for the company? And when I think it was like 8 years into my career, had been in our consumer products group and working with retailers and some of our apparel companies doing broad scale promotions, I was contemplating business school, and the NBA was always an organization that supported higher education.
Mm-hmm.
But I sat down with Adam Silver at the time, who was deputy commissioner, now the NBA's commissioner. And we kind of went through the merits of what I've been working on, do I take this 2-year break? And he pretty much said to me, like, are there things at this company that you're interested in? And I just took a white sheet of paper and built a job description. And 2 weeks later, sat down with Heidi Uberoth. For some of you that knew Heidi, she headed up our global partnerships group. Now has gone on to be on so many incredible boards, and just has been just a great advocate and leader for women, not just in sports, but in business. But I sat down with Heidi, and she's like, we 1,000% need this. And the first opportunity I got within the group of global partnerships was pack your bags. You're going to manage the USA Basketball Olympic sponsors for the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
Wow.
So I was single at the time, what better way than to travel the world with the MBA? So I did that, and, it was just an unbelievable experience. I tell people to this day when we talk about sports, and I said, whatever you could do to work on an Olympics, you should. It's just the highest level of sport that really transcends when you see the patriotism, and just literally I was like, heartbroken, not just for the Olympics and so many other sports. You literally train your whole life for what might be 2 minutes,
Right.
To get this medal or to say that you competed there. So, it was such a highlight of my career. And I went on to do, the Olympics in Europe and the London Olympics. I skipped Athens and China, and then left the NBA before the next one. So maybe LA 2028, I'll get on
Maybe.
that bandwagon.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And when I got to partnerships, I did the USA basketball, and then I started managing companies. And one thing led to another, and I would manage companies, and then I would hear about something during NBA All-Star Weekend that may be up for renewal. And I went to PlayStation, which is one of my earliest deals. And I said, oh, we have this 3-point shootout, or we had for Foot Locker, the 3-point shootout. For PlayStation, it was like the skills challenge. And next thing I knew, I did like my first 7-figure deal. And the business development team kind of looked over and said, she's doing this in her spare time. We want her full time.
Right.
And
That's
David,
great.
David Stern at the time had the foresight, where he said, you're a woman, you have great ambitions, you're in sports, and you know how to ask for money. And you should always, make sure that you can be in a business development role that's going to work and be so impactful for a company.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And Rachel, when you left the NBA, you went to a startup.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Yes. So I picked up my toys from 21 years at the NBA. And I said, I'm going to try this entrepreneurial startup thing. And I left the NBA as a free agent. And I just started meeting with early stage companies. And it was everything from technology to beverage to, fashion, you name it. It was like any industry was on the table. And I found out really quickly I would like fall in love with the product, and I wasn't so sure about working with the founder, or I would love the founder and I was like, I can't market widgets, right?
Right.
So I went to Landit because that was actually a company that was started by the Deputy Commissioner, Mark Tatum, for those sports fans joining us. Mark Tatum's wife, Lisa Ski Tatum, started that company.
Yeah.
So Lisa called me after like 3 months of leaving the NBA, and she said, Mark made me promise to give you 3 months off, but I really want, to talk to you about this. I know this is authentic to you. I had co-chaired the NBA's Women's Network, and I'd always been a fierce advocate for women in the workforce.
Right.
And essentially, she had me at hello. And
That's
I
great.
Landit. Oh, at least I'm just hearing an echo. I'm not sure if I should.
Are you?
Are you okay with the
I'm
audio?
okay. Yeah, I'm okay on the audio. Is anyone else hearing an echo?
Okay, maybe we're okay.
Okay. Yeah, the audience is usually pretty good about telling us when there's a glitch.
Right? Let me see who's in there. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Kathy says it's a small echo. Okay, so let's see. I'll move. And Melanie says a little bit. So here, I'll move here. And maybe that's a little bit better.
Is it better?
Is it better, guys?
Little echo?
Yeah.
Yes on echo.
Okay. Let's see.
Do we think it's me? Let me see. Should I be holding things?
I don't know.
Is
Now
that
it says it is.
No.
So someone just said it's fine, and Kathy said yes, it's better. Oh, Kathy says we're good. So we're good. Okay. Darlene says we're good too. Okay, great. We're good.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, so I go to Landit, and when I said Lisa had me at hello, the business was founded by two women, both women of color, and it was all about investing in diverse groups, really led by what has happened to women and people of color in the pipeline. So as we all know, diversity and inclusiveness now more than ever.
Right.
There are so many companies having an acute focus on this for their organizations to build the highest performing and best cultures.
Yep.
So we went into companies and we literally worked with them because we were an HR tech product. We work with them on investing in their people, everything from executive coaching to a personalized career playbook. So I loved it because I had mentored all my life, and now we could do it at scale. So we can go to companies and put 1,000 people on Landit where the employers is paying for it, and people feel invested, they're more empowered, and they have the tools that they need to really thrive at their company.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So someone says there's a lag. Yes, there is always a lag with IG Live. So yeah, that's part of the platform. We don't have any control over that.
All right. Well, keep me posted on the audio. This is my first IG Live, so I'm like checking that big box.
Yeah. No, I think we're good. Then I think we're good. We're good. Okay. So before we go on to your current role, one of the questions that I want to ask is, based on your tenure in partnerships and working with all these great companies, what would you say is the key to a successful partnership when two companies are coming together?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I think about partnerships, it's all about that synergy and shared ethos. So much of when I was growing up at the MBA, I would look over at all these salespeople and they were like selling off a sheet of paper, and they weren't listening to what the companies were really interested in. So something that I really, started early on was, how do you take a more consultative approach where essentially it's, you should be a shareholder in the company when you're doing that partnership. You should know what's important to their business, what makes them tick, and how we can, again, really multiply the impact by working together.
Yeah.
So, that's always been something, is bringing the thoughtfulness and really that consultative lens to a discussion versus just, I want to sell you this and we should be doing that. It's really about leaning in on both sides and understanding what are the assets that everybody brings to the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. So NBA, Landit, now DRL. How, president of the league, tell us, how did this come to fruition?
Okay, so I know, right? Mommy's got a new job, president of the Drone Racing League. I know, finally, like my cool plaque can sit on the wall again, right? So literally things were humming along, at Landit. Love the company, love what we're doing. And I saw David Stern, who many of you know was the former commissioner of the NBA. He was a mentor of mine, almost like a second dad. And I saw David in the fall. We caught up at a charity event, and we just started talking about, what's next. Startup world's been good. I'm easy. It's like a hand-to-hand combat. I'm using muscles I never thought I had intellectually. When I thought about really starting and growing a business. But we started talking about what's next and just my passion of wanting to get back to the community of sports that I just really loved. And it didn't have to be overnight. Like, there was no rush. I was loving what I was doing. But ultimately, getting me back to sports.
Right.
And if I went back to sports, it would have to be something. He was investing in a lot of technology companies. So he said, you can't just go back to sports like what you did at the NBA and be marketing, whatever it is.
Right.
He said, it's all about technology and innovation and what is futuristic when you think about millennials, Gen Z, my own 10-year-olds, they're growing up in a different environment of sports.
Yeah.
That you need to be on like the bleeding edge of what is going on. So we had that one conversation. Unfortunately, David got ill and has since passed. And it was almost like he put that in my head and he said, you figure it out now. And then literally in December, I got a call from Michelle James. Some of you may know James & Co. Female founded, more than a recruitment firm, I would say. They could never touch me at the NBA because they did some work there. But they called me and they said, we just want to check in with you. And I went over to their office, what I thought was a really casual event. And they said, you're going to be the president of the Drone Racing League. And we needed like a video camera of what my face was because I definitely wasn't expecting that. And it's turned out to be just this unbelievable opportunity. I went from that conversation to meeting Nick Korbachevsky, the CEO and founder of the Drone Racing League. He is just a brilliant individual, and sitting across the table from him, everything he built in this 5-year global sport and everything I brought sitting across the table is what they needed to really scale and now take the business to the next level. We have incredible investors and so much had been done. We're flying drone races in Europe and Saudi Arabia and Chase Field and Hard Rock, all these places. And yet there wasn't anyone that had the background that I brought of knowing how to build partnerships, social responsibility initiatives. So how do I take, great individuals that are there? My staff is terrific. You talked about Melanie earlier.
Yeah.
I just hired, going back to my Cornell roots, Kathy, who I think may be joining us. She came to hear me speak at Cornell. We kept in touch. And that's why I always tell people the power of networking. It's so important. And even reconnecting us today.
Yeah.
As you know, when I was at Landit, when I reached out to you and, now coming full circle here. But no, it's been like the craziest of times. But I sit here so bullish on our business. There are calls that we're on, and I mean, definitely some of the nomenclature is like flying over my head. But in terms of, I think about this industry and just being so well positioned as the sport of the future, there are so many companies that need to innovate and modernize and really contemporize their business. And now more than ever, we're a sport that can embed technology, that can break rules, that can go do these innovative things and really bring in the next generation of scientists and engineers where this can be a career. You can be a drone pilot. I'm searching for our first ever woman pilot. And I said that on hashtag.
Yes.
I said, who's the company? And I didn't want to call them out, but there are so many companies that talk about breaking barriers and glass ceilings. I have a sport that you don't have to be genetically gifted or play in a different league. You can compete against the men pilots. And if it's not my own daughter, Lily, you're going to see someone competing.
Yeah. No, that was one of the things that, and I actually mentioned that to Melanie because out of the panel discussion, when you said that, I was like, yeah, let's see who's going to lean in, who's going to help Rachel bring the first female pilot, So that was, it was great. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, Rachel, one of the things that's really key about this platform is having our guests provide 3 career insights, because the essence of these conversations, it's all about educating, inspiring, and paying it forward. So you have had an amazing career. What would be your 3 career insights for those watching today?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So definitely lead with transparency. I'm very direct in a good way.
Yep.
But I always feel like, why should you play with half a deck where you should give people all the information? Or if there's a reason you're not giving them all the information, you can help educate them, why. But everyone should have a full understanding of what's going on. I mean, now more than ever, I joined the league. I met my whole team remote. There's a lot going on in my head that I'll be executing on, but where do I pick the right spots to ensure that they're both well informed but not distracted by some changes going on? So, I always talk about transparency. We all know when you work for a company, you sacrifice a lot. So you want to make sure that, your team is really well vested in what you are doing. So that's one of them.
Okay.
And then along the same line is to build high performing teams where there's a great chemistry. So one of the things, as I was meeting my team, it was not about the work. Like, what do you do at DRL? I will have time to learn about who does marketing or partnerships or the engineers building our fleet of drones, all of that. But it was really about, like, what's important to you? Like, tell me about your life. Like, whether it was like dogs, children, parents, I'm training for a marathon, whatever it was, I'm like, help me better understand you as an individual so I can support whatever is important to you.
Yeah.
And that's really been foundational to people that have worked for me over the years. Like, they're fully aware the bar is high and the expectations are there. But I always have people that have come back to me and just said, that academy training that you provided, it was exactly what I needed, because now I've gone on to do this where I can lead and I can feel empowered. And I watched, I listened, I learned, you invested in me. So I'm always in the give back column of doing that. But it's really about people playing to their strengths and knowing, like, how do I size that up early on so I set them up to thrive in environments where they may be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What else would I say? Transparency, high performing teams. Another thing that I would say, career insights. Okay, this is one, and I know it's so overplayed, guys, but I'll use it anyway, because I think, as I shared earlier, like, my most recent hire as my chief of staff was a Cornellian that heard me speak, who had, just the perfect cadence of checking in with me every 6-8 months. I saw this that you did, or here's what's happening in my world. And networking is so important, and you don't know when you're going to need it. And you know that, as I do. I'm in a new job. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. You have a mass movement around racial injustice. It's not a great time to maybe be reaching out on some things, but I'm always leading with, how can I support you? Not even what I need. And that networking and the community that you build over time, because it takes time.
Yeah.
Not just birthday check-ins or anniversaries or whatever it is. It's who calls you when you lose your job. Who's there at the low points that's also there at the high points.
Yeah.
So, I used to have a boss that said that. It's like everybody reaches out to the person that gets the new job or gets promoted because it's like, oh, now that person could do something. And he's like, who reaches out when things haven't gone your way?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That is so key because with so many people being unemployed, furloughed, it's very interesting who returns your call now when you're not the head of marketing at X, Y, and Z place, when you're not the head of sponsorships at so-and-so. So it's really, that's actually really, really great insights. So, I mean, I am just, look, I'll share with you the morning that I woke up that, and I checked LinkedIn and it was announced that you were the president. I was beyond thrilled that I even did a post on LinkedIn and on this platform congratulating you because I was just like, finally, there's some diversity at the top and I couldn't have been more happy for you. So thank you for your time. Congratulations on all of your success. You've had an amazing career and I just can't thank you enough and your team for making today happen.
Oh my God, definitely. And we are here for you. I'll have to go through comments of who's on here, but I tell people I spent the last 2.5 years.
Oh, where'd you go? Okay.
Helping companies invest in their women and diverse talent. So, if you've worked for me or me, like this is core to my DNA. And now more than ever, as I came back to the sports community, it just was such a great reminder how high tide raises all boats and how we can all continue to support each other. And my team knows like I am pushing us. We did a crossover with a NASCAR driver last weekend. I got NBA players flying drones in their backyards right now. And I'm like, we have DRL Academy and STEM programs, like whatever we can do to, again, support communities and other sports, like we're there. We're your sport.
No, I love it. And we are going to celebrate when you get your first woman pilot. So we're going to be watching.
I'm coming back with her.
Okay. All right. That's a deal. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll see everyone next Tuesday at 12 for our next lunchtime conversation. Bye, Rachel. Talk to you soon.
Take care.